Yes, I'm kind of already started. So the point of this session is, we've been doing this for years, for those of you who haven't seen it before. As we have multiple streams, you can't be in everything, so you don't get to learn everything from. We do a little summary and try to get themes from that. So this is me trying to summarize a whole load of sessions that I've not attended, and some of the speakers I've spoken to. I believe one of our speakers has already managed to run out the door, which is like, it's going to make it even more challenging. But I did actually this year get round. I saw everybody's slide decks last night and put this slide deck together. Not prepared.
Every other year it was, though. That's why he's.
So, thank you for providing me the slide deck, for which I
You're
can
welcome.
update for this year, leaving it on the correct place in our Google Drive. So you will notice that sometimes it will say SMITAM Conf 2023 on it. Well, I have completely failed. There we go. Okay, but I did manage to copy and paste a screenshot of our conference website.
But also to add, none of my tweets have been working today, so there's nothing on. But they will.
I was going to say, we didn't get round to marketing the hashtag at the beginning of the day. We were starting a little bit late, which is always a little bit nervy as an organizer, and immensely managed to catch up by the end of session one and stay on time all through the day, which I don't think we've achieved on any other conference at all. So yes, that's a good part of our right. So I don't think we need any of that.
Yeah.
Right, yes, we do have LinkedIn groups, ETS service management and IT asset management. I'm also going to just throw in here randomly our standard call to committee members. If anyone here would like to volunteer to help us out, there is always. Well done, Steve.
This was ventriloquism from the room.
I definitely heard that's fine. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You can eat through our committee meetings. You can eat through our conference sessions.
You've won me over.
I've got the sandwiches out after lunch to have a few extra here during the post-lunch session. Yeah, so we're always looking for extra volunteers, even if that's just volunteering to speak. If you want to become a part of the committee and contribute that as well, obviously something we're always looking out for. And we have some people who are doing things in other parts of the country. Like we've been getting lots of good luck and how's it going messages today from Stuart, who's been doing a good job organizing stuff in the north of England. So yeah, all right. So that's the bits of the introduction I skipped over. Was there anything else I should have said at 9 o'clock this morning?
We highlight the email link.
This one here,
Yeah.
and then you get on our distribution list, and then you get all the adverts for our upcoming events. Great idea. Fantastic. Yes, if you're not already on that list, then there's the thing for that, and we can put that back later if you need it. Right, on to the summary. Okay, so do we still have a Sarah around? We have a Sarah around. I see Sarah hiding away at the back there. What we need to know to prove the state of resilience. I quite like that title. So in this, we were talking about roads, if I recall, and really complicated roads. This was a great slide deck to look at last night to go, right, so what's this about? There is just pictures of roads. There's no notes in the slide. I'm just going to talk about on any of this stuff, how much will what cost? What are we doing? I don't know. But it was really good. I was very impressed with this. And it did bring together a lot of what I've seen thematically through the day, is getting this idea of what is it we're trying to do? Why is it we're trying to do it? How do we get there? What are the costs? And what are the cultural things that we need to do in order to bring people onto with it? Now, obviously, with this, we're focusing very much on DORA, and a lot of the why we're looking to do that is because it's becoming law. And therefore, if you're covered, then you're covered and you have to. But there's an awful lot that goes with that, which is about good practice in general. And there was also some talking to that within this and quite a few of the other sessions about operational resilience, about cybersecurity, and about risk management, and being able to tell that story back into your organization. certainly I've seen this where you get compliance people who can, and I really like the way you were talking about yourself, Sarah, and the way you were sort of knocking on doors.
That's the thing I was going to say, that my takeaway specifically was how annoying risk and compliance people.
Or teacher was teaching how to be annoying in the most nice, nice is too vanilla a word, but
Falling in front of the coffee shop, she said.
I thought Sophie's phrase that she referred to herself in this last session was a good one, that I could aspire to be the smiling assassin.
yes, absolutely brilliant. Yes. So yeah, so there's obviously a lessons there that one, people are actually going to have to start listening to compliance people nowadays, but they can behave in a nice way. But it kind of made me think of the book, oh, what's the DevOps book? It's the Phoenix Project. And there's the compliance guy in that who's just like absolutely dead set, and he annoys all of his colleagues to the point where just ignoring him completely, and he completely loses effect until someone comes and gives him a flaying, and then he kind of adapts his behavior a little bit. But it's very much that, although this is very law and regulatory, the other side of that is it's extremely human, and it's all about using leadership approaches and how to bring people along and convince them of stuff, rather than just being able to say, this is just law and we just have to do it. There's still, sounds to me as a thing, very much stronger on that side, even though we've got all of the paperwork and governance things that we need to do. So, moving on to the service management stream, we had Martin, who managed to give us a little bit more detailed explanation of what DORA is. I thought this was absolutely brilliant. Around this slide, he managed to put in a slide of a castle with plants, of course, defenses and all of this kind of stuff. Yes, it comes in nicely, followed by a slide from 1986 of ITIL V2. It was like, apparently DORA's not as new as some of the headlines might make us think. Yeah. But with this, I really like this. This was a way of explaining it to children using this analogy of the castle. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but I really liked things like ensuring the castle tradesmen are safe, and that you've got a pot of gold which the baddies want, and that's your. But I thought this was actually really good in terms of being able to find a way to be able to speak to people in a more common parlance. Most people understand what a castle is, have visited castles at some point in their life and stuff like this, and it's using terminology which is much more human relatable. So it's not the only way to explain DORA to others, but I thought that this was a really good thing, and there's definitely some stuff from this I will be picking up.
And there's a footnote to this, and pretty much all of my slides are based on posts I've put up on LinkedIn. So as a great resource for DORA folks, all you've got to do is jump onto LinkedIn, type in #DORA, and there's actually loads of really good stuff up there. And so it's this is just one example, you know, stuff that's up there with the write-up behind it. And it's the same with most of the slides. So I've been a bit lazy on the presentation by dipping into my LinkedIn pool, but that's where this one came from. Also, this works well with their boards of directors, because you know, everyone's got grandchildren, and everyone understands what goodies and baddies are.
Yes, I really like this. It says a way of talking to senior management in a way that they can understand. Feel like they are slightly more intelligent than a 4 or 5-year-old girl, and away. There was seriously a bit more practical takeaway. So this is your 2 slides in, as we did this yesterday. That you need to be able to present the spreadsheet with your ROI, the register of information, some level targets, and now we're getting back into that boring speak that IT people and ITIL people and all of this kind of stuff use. And you need to have qualification around your 5 main pillars.
But whoever would have thought that recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives would make it into the law of the land? Okay, I mean, whoever would someone said that to me 5 years ago, I tell them it was crazy, but here it is. 27 countries, 22,000 organizations, RPO, RTO, go do it.
And see these areas, risk, incident testing. All of this is very much stuff that, from me as a service management person, has been a huge part of conferences and stuff that I've been to over the years. This
Third-
bit
third
here,
party.
Hmm?
Third party.
third party, yeah. This bit here is something that's new as having a focus. There's been elements of supplier management, and certainly when people have been talking about SIAM stuff, then of course it becomes a big thing, but then that is the topic. But outside of that, it's not really been seen. And I'm very curious to see which of my customers will come and tell me that the TPP in the coming months, because apparently they don't have long left. I haven't had any notifications yet. That's one thing that's intrigued me. I don't know if anyone else in the room is in that situation. I shouldn't say anything if you are. Right, so moving on to Matt. So Matt works for the Home Office. He's also a first aider for St John Ambulance, and he did a really fantastic job mapping, I believe. No, we don't have that. I'll jump back to this in a moment. Mapping how you deal with an IT incident to how you deal with a medical incident, and the thinking and process that you go through with that. And then he talked quite a lot around the psychology that goes with dealing with emergency situations. So this was one of his, so say the five morals. Fixation. This is where you become blind because you think this is what's causing the problem, and you start going on that, and you're not accepting in information that might lead you to rethink that. So I liked his Green Cross Code. Stop, look, listen. I remember the Green Cross Code game. Green Cross Code man in school, and he always sung think at the end of it, right? Was to have that extra bit. You absorb the information, then you think. Conformity. So one of the things here was, I love here it says ask for decent. Ask for dissent. This is there's a nice little thing within there about, you know, someone saying something that's clearly wrong as an answer to a question simply because all of the other people in the group have already said the answer first. So the person goes along with that. And they might do that because they don't have the guts to speak up, or the culture doesn't enable them, or they might genuinely question themselves and think, well, if 4 people are right, are saying the same thing, they must be right because they know more than me. I know I've certainly hit this challenge when I'm working with people, is I tend to be the expert in my area when I have an incident that I'm working on, and therefore people will just defer to me. And I'm saying, right, I need your extra ideas, because if I can't think of it, they're like, well, if you say you think it must be that, then that's what it must be. Because they are not prepared to do that questioning. Cognitive ability. So this was things like making sure you are handling things like tiredness, make sure you are hydrated. Or your cognitive ability will drop once you get to, I think 2% was the figure for dehydration. That was hitting into using system 1, system 2 thinking and trying to slow down and analyze things properly. Human factors. I love the picture for this. Humans are fallible when switched to the board. So I had a lovely demonstration there of a curve of keeping people with the right level of pressure and right level of interest. I love this. You're not smart as you think you are. Competence, and just being aware of what people's competence levels are here. Something I've looked at a lot in the last year or two. Dunning-Kruger effect. Teach someone 10 minutes about something, but I think absolutely everything there is to know about it. Times out experience by 10, suddenly they realize that they know absolutely nothing about it. Confidence levels drop, and then they go back up again. Yeah. So generally, if you think you're talking to someone who's extremely confident, they're probably at the beginning of the curve and know absolutely nothing about the topic. No. Okay, Linda. Enabler of operational resilience. So here, Linda was talking through around some things around ISO 20000, what it is, what its history is, and where it's come from. And it turns out that you have written down a huge amount of stuff already, which Dora is currently trying to write up and has not yet released, according to some of the other presentations that we. What I also picked up from this is your guidance about the release from 2018 is nearly finished being written up. So that just extrapolating the same thing for Dora, expect to know how to comply with Dora approximately 2030, somewhere around that time. Hopefully you won't get too large a fine before someone tells you what it is you actually should have been doing. But here you're focusing on supplier-based change management. I don't remember what.
Configuration.
That's configuration.
Configuration management.
But they're coming up in a different sequence.
I copied and pasted the slide, and I think the one from over there, which was a seesaw balance thing, is not going to display. No, it's not.
Reward missing from there.
It's just a risk. It's a risk and rewards balance. Okay, yeah. So this is all your classic things within service management and making you have the structures around it. And again, an awful lot of about making it appropriate to what the organization was, but then also having the same thing that, because it's a standard, pass, fail, it's a tickable thing, as opposed to maturity assessment where you can go up and down and you can choose or where you are. So I think the impression I've got, say I'm no expert in Dora, is it's on exactly the same kind of thing. You have a series of you must or shall statements. Anything you'd like to add on to that, Linda, before I? No, right? And then we had Steve. So the challenge of cyber resilience in SMEs, increasingly exposed to cyber incidents. I believe the figure was something like 50% of micro organizations have been hit in the last year with something, and it went up.
50% of businesses overall and micro businesses slightly less, all the other sizes somewhat more.
Yeah, and micro was up to 10 employees, and after that you get into small, right? That really kind of struck home with me, just the level of identified exposure from SMEs. They make quite a bit of the supply ecosystem thing. Probably makes some TPPs. Probably means they suddenly need to actually start caring about this. Which, from what I can understand, might make it happen.
SMEs are 99.2% of all enterprises in the UK, as per Steve's slide.
Yes, but it's very easy to count up lots of bakeries and say that's 10 businesses, and then pick one IBM and say that's one business. And the scale of them combined is not, as you say, it's, in terms of employment, it's a lot lower than that, right? But
Like bakeries.
um,
Just saying.
it was one of your things, right? But yeah, it was very interesting to see that there's a lot of resources which are available for SMEs. You can go to the government and you can ask them for advice and they can give it to you in several different places. None of them say the same thing. None of them cover everything that you should be doing. And yeah, there's lots of exclusions, which you prove that actually it's just a worldwide build of information for people who don't understand this anyway. Coming from an SME, and we're a technology one, as I'm here, we've got quite a good handle on security for companies of our size. Because as you say, the example of a bakery, why would a baker know anything about cybersecurity? Someone who works in ITSM, I should at least know something about cybersecurity, part of my job anyway. So yeah, there's advice out there. There's a lot of outsourcing. Seems to me to be getting up more to get to that reasonable size. But yeah, big challenge and some work being done to try to mitigate it. And it looked like enough would be my summary. But you're doing this new Cycles trials due to start imminently, if I understand.
Yeah, well,
So community
building up
support.
as we go. So anyone who wasn't in the talk, www.cycos.org, and you can find out more information about what you missed.
Now, Cycles or Psychos?
Cycos. I can ask that. Within the team, I'm not going to say, but the project, Cycos.
I couldn't resist it. I'm sorry. Okay.
10 minutes.
Okay, I will speed up a little bit. Sophie and Joe. So this was walking the line. So this was about, again, balancing implementation around resilience and investment in it, and not excessively overdoing it. I like this one, plan to plan. What happens if we can't? So we're planning to see what we might be planning in the future rather than having a definite plan for getting everything done. A very pragmatic step in terms of we can try to approach the whole thing, and we start over here, and then we can plan the rest later. We don't have to necessarily cover a thing. And I always put this in my slide decks: people, process, technology, getting the balance between the three and making that one.
Question, the status quo was the same as what we had from Matt's presentation as well.
So a theme,
Uh-huh.
right? Joshua Morehouse. No slide deck provided.
Who was in that presentation?
Did anyone attend? Joshua's attended Joshua's presentation.
Surprisingly
Give a quick
enough.
summary of his presentation.
Quick note, so in his talk, he's talking about that ITAM has helped cyber resiliency and help deliver better security posture for customers, because if you understand your landscape, you can provide that risk and reward. And he was looking at on how when you're building an ITAM register, you need to provide active intelligence. So your registers are only as good as the data you provide it. So rubbish in, you get rubbish out. But a key area that I thought was quite interesting was he was talking about, can you use your ITAM platform to make things self-healing? So if it knows that the data is bad, can it go and ask other systems that may have better data to sort of heal itself and plug those gaps? That was an interesting view as well. Quick plotted summary.
Quality data, always a theme in ITAM, isn't it? So Ashley and Paul. So,
Yes, I think
There.
they're still here.
He's over there.
I'd like to say a few words, as I did not attend your presentation. I only got a quick summary of you.
It was brilliant. It was amazing. I think everybody that was there.
Standing room only.
Yeah.
Quick standing ovation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Section that only lasted for like 20 minutes, and then we heard clapping in the other room.
No. No, we went.
Raps just clapping all the way through, wasn't it?
Yeah, spot on time. We're really keen about time. So this was about how IT asset management can assist with DORA and those sort of things. And we gave examples from our very long careers in IT asset management, and how it's not the fix, it's not a golden bullet, it's not anything like that. But what it is a great resource for lots of things. Yeah, and lots of things around security. And we gave examples from our careers about where, and I think we said before, as you said, DORA's not new, it's just a new set of guidelines to do what you should be doing, as with GDPR and things like that. And we were saying, like, actually, we're a great resource for that. We're also a great resource for processes. So we gave examples of how our team manage things that help cyber out, that help. What were the other pillars, Mr. Cooper? COVID. Yeah, we had things for how we managed and coped with COVID. So different areas of disasters and where they can come through, and how, as a team, actually they're a great resource. And whether that be like we are as a single IT asset management team, or actually whether you've got a bit of it in finance and a bit of it in procurement, a bit of it here, actually they're already doing a lot of what you want. And as I said, stop, collaborate and listen. Yeah. Because that's how you're going to get the information you need for DORA, is actually by just taking a breath, going and talking to these people, and you actually suddenly find actually it's already there. We just need to change our processes to give you an output that's exactly what you want. Is that okay?
Perfect, yes. And linking in that stop, collaborate and listen, to be very much like the Green Cross Code stuff as well. So that's using it on a slightly less urgent timescale than from like the major incident management stuff that we were talking about in the service management stream, but that same idea being applied.
So,
Okay, and using the data as a foundation and using the capabilities that you have there as a foundation from which you can support other things, which again, a lot of the stuff we had in the ITSM stream was covering as well. Okay, Rich. Hey, okay, and
So,
slide.
yeah, so I only found out that we had to do this slide after I'd made a presentation, so I would have made a cooler slide, had I known. But yeah, basically, this was about software support, particularly Microsoft, and what you can do when you've got systems that you need but are no longer supported, how you can obtain additional support, what those kind of costs look like, third-party alternatives, so looking away from the software vendor to someone else to give you the support. And then we got into quite a nice conversation on this kind of DORA piece of, you know, if you get a third party to support your Microsoft, does that have implications for your DORA compliance? Will it make it more difficult, etc.? So we finished, as any good session should do, with some questions that no one knew the answer to. But in general, yeah, it's kind of the Microsoft support landscape and how much it costs and how you can try and reduce those costs while increasing compliance.
Sounds like understanding your supplier landscape and understanding your IT landscape, which I've heard an awful lot of today. I'd like to see a bit more just in real life, but leave that one by the by. Right, we have Chloe, Sarah, and Michelle from just a panel session thingy, which you were facilitating, if I recall correctly.
Was indeed.
Right, how did that go?
So we explored, we had Chloe is on a degree apprenticeship program, and Sarah is midway through her career, and Michelle is
Steady on.
we were just exploring some of the key things that help build resilient careers. So we explored mentors and the people that have helped us, or that have helped the three women, help them with some of the big decisions that they've had to make through their careers. We talked about some of those decisions. So for instance, Chloe made a huge decision in a school that was very much on a university track to go down the degree apprenticeship route. And I thought it was nice and it was interesting that her school actually is now a bit more open to alternatives to university and they've actually asked her to go back and talk to students about the route that she's taken. So her next big milestone is when she finishes a degree in 2 years' time. And at the moment she's working full-time and studying for a degree. So that's a lot of hard work there. Sarah is actually, do you know what? I sort of did the classic thing of getting somebody who is very, very similar to me onto a panel. Sarah is Australian. She travelled to the UK. She lives in London. She's had a varied career. She hasn't really had many mentors because she just jumps as needed as the opportunity comes up. She'll take a deep breath, jump in. She just calls on people who are around her who are quite, you know, who will be helpful. But complete contrast to Michelle, who has had the same mentor for 10 years and is very, very close to her mentor. And we talked about how she and her mentor have actually moved from a position where he was mentoring her and now they're much more equal. So they have a much more equal relationship after such a long time. And then Michelle's big decision has been to start a business with somebody that she'd worked with for many years. So there was a high degree of trust there. And 2 years ago, they took a huge breath and started a business. And now they're 2 years in and the business is going very well. So it was a really interesting talk, actually.
Fantastic, right.
Emotional as well.
Right.
Love the way you
Lovely.
made that very lock stock. Is there anything that you guys would like to add? And one question from me is there anything specifically that came from that was about being women in technology? just being in technology and having to have resilient careers?
You know what? There wasn't. And that was fan-bloody-tastic to maybe not accidentally, but to have 3 women at different stages of their career talking about their experiences working in ITAM, and for that not to be a topic. But I'm also happy to talk about women in tech at ITAM all day, every day, and I'm a part of different groups and careers. But I think resilience is so important in any career. I think ITAM in particular has specific challenges that we come up against, especially about being that smiling assassin and perhaps not, annoying people too much and convincing them that perhaps this risk is real and they should do something about it. But I think resilience is key anywhere that you are, and just got to find good people and keep going.
Okay. Anything else you guys would like to add in?
No, it was just a really good chat.
Okay, fantastic.
Good chat.
Right. Eamon Lee, behavioral human risk, building a culture of resilience.
Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee.
And I still smell wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I will, Dr. Lee, of course. So again, this is one that I didn't manage to attend. But yeah, you've got some really cool pictures in the slide deck. Yeah, I remember seeing that last night. But again, bringing back in this idea of having both structure, understood approaches, discipline, and right kind of procedures and stuff, and the psychological and cultural element, which came out of the DORA and ISO 20000 a lot more than you might expect to, based on their titles, but definitely was a very strong theme. You guys like to add a little bit more, as you?
Yeah, I guess we kind of began by kind of defining what are cyber behaviors, the fact that they're relevant to DORA. Then we kind of talked about this tightrope between usability of services and software and the security involved in that. So the example was like email providers, they want you to be able to use your email, but not click on phishing links, for example. But there's always this interaction tension between the human and the technology they're interacting with. You should improve both, of course you should implement technical controls, but the human is also a great opportunity for risk reduction as well. And then we kind of gave some real life examples. So we have like the MGM attack on there, when KnowBe4 hired a North Korean threat actor accidentally, and then when a healthcare system in the US got attacked. So basically, showing that cyber behaviors are relevant, and that they have real world impacts, and basically what you can do about that, and not just what you can do, but kind of how you can do it to maximize the effectiveness of your service offerings or your solution, the software solutions.
Yeah, and just bringing it to life really about the human element of IT, and making more interactive.
So they also do games like, we had James Bohr and do a
yes.
James Bohr, who did that simulation of a cyber attack with a group of people. The tabletop gaming.
Tabletop gaming is what you call
So
it, yeah.
these guys do that in their company as well, and similar other activities that they have around training and teaching. That they come into companies and set up simulations and things for.
Yeah, so certainly this idea of simulation in order to get people to engage with the thing and to experience. I believe experiential learning is the adult learning term. Yeah, more academics in the room than I'm used to. But yeah, so interesting things for us to be mindful of that. Was there anything? How much time have I got left?
None.
It's feeling like I'm just on to none.